Next on the menu we have the appearance. So we click on appearance. The first option that comes up is the theme, and our current theme is 2012, which comes as standard when you install WordPress. And you have the option to customize it. And below that, lower down the page, we also have any other available themes that are installed. So what you can do is, if there's several you want to choose between, you can install them all and then flip between them by reactivating them. You can only have one theme activated at a time. So if you wanted to swap to the 2011 rather than the 2012, by clicking on activate here, it will make it the theme you're currently using. If you want to install themes, you click on the next tab here, and it will give you the option to search one, or to upload one, or to look at the ones that are featured, or the newest ones like that. We will look at themes in more detail in a later lecture. Next we'll go to widgets. Now widgets, if you remember me talking earlier, are the extra bits of functionality that can appear onto your site. So as you can see here, there's some different widgets that are being used in the sidebar of your site. So we have a search, we have recent posts, recent comments, archives, etc. And they can easily be removed by just dragging and then dropping them out. So say for example we wanted to remove the archives widget, we would just drag it across and drop it back onto the other side. So when we view our website now, you'll notice that the archives category has disappeared. And in the same way, if you want to add a different widget, say for example you wanted to add a calendar, you just grab it and you click it and pull it across to the sidebar. And these can also be reordered. So if you don't want your calendar at the top, you can drag it and put it further down the page. So if I just quickly show you the site now, you'll see how that looks. So if we scroll down, we now have a calendar widget showing, and the archive one has disappeared. Let's go back to widgets. You can get more widgets by basically installing plugins, or by using some of the features that might be provided with your theme. So you're not limited to just the ones that you see here. There's all sorts of different widgets you can have. But we'll explore widgets in more detail in a later lecture. Next we have menus. Now this is where you can create custom menus. So say for example you have 5 pages that you want to appear on a menu, and all your other pages you want to appear somewhere else, perhaps in another menu. So what you can do is you can just put a custom menu. So rather than just the standard one where every page appears, you can basically create one which may only have 5 pages linked to it. So that's what we use with custom menus. But we will look at that again in more detail. So we've just clicked onto header. Now here, this is what it lets you choose the header image for your website. So what you can do is you can choose an image from your computer or one from your media library. So like I was saying before, you can upload images to your media library and you can choose one of those to appear in place of just the plain text which I have at the moment. And it also lets you change the colours. But if you install a theme which is more customizable, which we're going to do in a later video, you'll see you'll probably be given a lot more options depending on the theme you choose. It's also worth noting that they make a suggestion on the size for the image you should use. Next, on the background, you can see that you can choose a background colour by changing it here, and you can also have a background image which can be uploaded from your computer, or you can choose it from your media library. Next we just go into plugins. Now plugins add functionality to your website. Like I was saying before, they can give you extra widget options that you can use. Now it's always worth picking your theme before you start installing plugins, because you may well find that the theme you choose gives you those bits of functionality without having to install extra plugins. Here you can see a list of the plugins that I have installed, and at the moment most of them are not activated, which is why they're greyed out. So all I'd need to do is click on activate to reactivate them there, or for example if I didn't want this one here I could deactivate it. You can add new plugins in the same way as you add a theme, so you can click add new here or add new there. And when you add new, you have a choice to upload them from your computer or to search for them. Next down we have users. So say for example you wanted more than one person to be able to access your website and perform certain functions. You can give them a different hierarchy as well. So say for example you can have an administrator, an editor, an author, a contributor or a subscriber. And if you want to know more information about what their sort of privileges are, you can look on the WordPress.org website and it will tell you exactly what they're allowed to change and what they're not allowed to change. You then have the tools section here. So there's different available tools, but also you have an import and an export option. So if you want to import a theme perhaps that you've made, so if you like the idea of designing a theme, you could have a look at Artistia, which is a nice piece of software which lets you design your own themes. And what I'll do is I'll put a link in the notes section, so if you're interested in exploring that in more detail you can go and have a look at that. And you can also export information too. You then have your settings menu. So we've gone straight into the general option, and this lets you change your site title, the tagline which you saw earlier, the WordPress and website addresses or URLs, my username for admin purposes. You can also alter the date and the time as it's displayed, for example, on your blog posts. When you make any changes to any of these pages, it's always important to note you make sure that you hit the Save Changes button, because you could change them on the page, but if you don't hit Save Changes, the changes will not be updated. Next, we'll just have a quick look through the other settings. So these are the writing settings here. There shouldn't really be anything we need to change, but it's something you might want to go and explore at a later date. My philosophy with WordPress is, if I want to change something, then I go and find out how to do it. I don't change things for change's sake. Once I want to change something, I go and find out how I do it. And also, a friend of mine gave me a very good piece of advice that said, if you change anything within your WordPress, make sure you write down what you've changed, because if you suddenly find that you've done something you didn't realise that you've done, at least you can go back and you can undo it. But if you change many things all in one go, you might think, now which setting was it that changed that? So there's other options here. So there's reading. You can change what the front page displays, whether it's your latest posts. So if you want a blog, you will want all your blog posts on the front page, for example. But if you're creating a website made up of pages and you don't want to have blog posts, you can choose then to have a static page. So this page will always appear on your home page. And you can also select which one it is, once you've created some pages, that is. Here you can also alter how many posts you will show in one go, and whether you use full text or summary. So basically it means if you want a blog post, does the whole post show on the page or just an excerpt? Next we can look at the discussion settings, and here this basically lets us manipulate things to do with our blog comments. I tend to leave them in their default settings unless I feel that something needs changing. So for example here, email me whenever anyone posts a comment. I may not want my inbox filled up with information about comments or being reminded I have to moderate comments, because it drives me a little bit crazy. But if you haven't got many comments on your blog, that may not be a problem. If it becomes a problem, you can come here and change the settings, and also whether a comment is held for moderation or not. And you can scroll down this page and there are more things to consider. Just remember to save changes with anything that you alter on the page. Next we look at media. And this is just basically to do with the thumbnail sizes. So the thumbnail is basically the small picture you see on your blog posts. So you can change the size of that and what size you want to set your medium and large files as being, and also how your uploads are categorized. Permalinks. Now we're going to look at these in more detail in another lecture, but basically it's the way that your permanent URLs appear for your website. So rather than having some random URL link, privatetutoring.me/p123, you want to have it set so it's the post name. So you can just change the structures in here. So that's the run-up of the menu that we're going to be using. You might be wondering why there's a couple of things I skipped over. Now there is a plugin here, and that's a menu to configure that, but because it's a new plugin that was installed automatically when I installed WordPress, I haven't had a chance to go and explore it yet, so I'm not going to talk you through it at this stage. Right, at the end of this lecture you should have a brief overview of how the WordPress administration screen works. I'm Jennifer Bailey, thank you for listening.